You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog Liberty Podcast. This is episode number 206 of East Central Indiana's favorite podcast. I'm Jeremiah Morrill. Today we have co-host Dakota Davis, producer Zach Burcham, and we are on the We Are Libertarians Network.
Today on the Boss Hog Liberty, it's going to be the three of us. We're going to be talking to you guys. Just the three of us. We're going to be talking to you guys about local governments and the financial aid that they have received from the federal government due to COVID-19. What are they doing with those funds? Are they using them responsibly? And also at the end of the show, we have some breaking news from Henry County about a person officially filing to run for office.
The 2022 election season has begun.
That's right. This is the first I've seen. This is the first new official announcement that I've seen.
I believe so. I believe so.
So that's exciting news. At the very top of the show,
although I think they can announce, they can't file yet. In the old parties, the Democrats and Republicans, they have a filing window, and I think that starts after the new year begins. So, no, I don't know.
They can just announce.
You can announce, and I think you can even start raising money, but you can't actually file to be on the ballot yet.
Explore.
Yes.
That's opening an exploratory committee. But at the very top of the show today, we're going to be talking to you guys about our Patreon site and some changes that are coming to the show, and also a brand new website that we want you all to check out.
I bet it's at bosshogliberty.com.
It very well might be.
Very little that they have to change to actually find us.
Yeah.
We just did a 20-minute segment on Patreon. Just jump on bosshogliberty.com and search for the Patreon. I believe you can pledge your forever allegiance to Boss Hog over there. Is that right?
Yeah, there's if you go to bosshogliberty.com, then as you open up the screen, then it's going to show you the latest episode that we just did. There's also a link in the very bottom of the About section right above where it's going to say latest episode. But then also if you go and you click on the little header, there's a
right at the top
bright button that says join our Patreon with an exclamation point.
And that's where you get all of the extra content. You got your show notes emailed to you with more than 60 minutes notice today. Very impressive. Very impressive that we got that done.
That's right. Yeah, you get show notes each and every week, and if we have an episode like we're doing today where we're talking about a lot of details, a lot of things that are very detailed, especially with numbers and things, then we're going to put in links to wherever we get our information so you guys can see that and follow along with the show. You also we have bow ties that just got sent out today. I sent those out they were the bow ties, the golden bow ties that we wore for the episode 200 celebration. I had to go. I couldn't fit them in the regular envelopes I have at home.
Oh, no.
They were too beefy. So I had to order some bubble ones. But I wasn't going to buy this huge, 11-inch bubble thing that they have at the actual post office.
How many stamps does it take to mail a bow tie?
So you actually have to create a shipping label. And you can get it on Pirate Ship. Pirateship.com. That's what Audrey uses, pirateship.com to create labels whenever she ships tumblers, because she has people from Pennsylvania that buy cups from her and stuff. And so she turned me on to that. It's like $3 a piece. It's $3.19
to mail one.
To mail.
Not bad at all.
No, it really isn't.
Not bad at all.
Yeah. Small price to pay. But I did write on them in Sharpie. I on the front of them, I put BHOL 200, and then around the strap, I wrote, thank you for all your support and stuff, just to make them a little extra.
How long ago did those go out?
No, they went out today.
Okay, because
Yeah,
I was going to say, I am shocked that I haven't received a picture of Christy Avery wearing hers yet.
No, they just went out literally this afternoon as I left work.
All right. So they should show up between tomorrow and Christmas.
Yeah.
Essentially with the USPS.
That's
just in time for the 4th of July.
Do they have tracking numbers? Can we watch them scatter across the nation?
Vacation to Muncie.
She said something about the tracking numbers. I wasn't paying attention.
The check's in the mail. They should be there.
I ordered the things like 2 weeks ago, the little envelopes, and they showed up because they were through Amazon. So they showed up in a few days. And then I went to work and I packaged them. And then I was like, I could probably just mail these, like there's just the size of an envelope.
Right.
It's literally 4x8.
Right.
And she's like, no, you have to get a shipping label. This is considered a package. It's like freaking great. So then, like, that's
who told you this? Somebody at the post office or your lovely wife?
No, our post office lady.
Okay,
Spiceland. Yeah. So that's what it took me so long. It's like, how do I?
It all sounded so easy to start.
Yeah, it's whatever. But anyway, you get all those extra things if you join the Patreon. And if you join at $50 or more a month, then we give you a shout out at the front of every episode. And those folks are Christy Avery, that we just talked about. She's all the way in Fort Wayne. We appreciate Christy every day. Mr. Jonathan Phillips from Andy Mork Buick and GMC in Fishers, Indiana, our favorite car dealer in the entire state or nation, depending on who you ask. And then Mr. Anthony Meyer, the man
really any nation. In the world, I prefer him over all of the Canadian car dealers I know.
Yeah, I do too, and Mexican. And Mr. Anthony Meyer, who has been, of course, keeping the country running.
He's back.
He is. Yeah, he's back in the $50 a month club. And then we have the Fiddler's Green Cigar Company from here in Newcastle, Indiana. Check them out on Facebook. That's a mobile cigar lounge. We also have T-Chip stores where you can go and get your merchandise. So we have a link tree that producer Zach is going to be posting in the comments section for you very shortly. And that is where you can go and you can buy all of your Boss Hog of Liberty merchandise. That's tchip.com/BHO1, 2, 3, or 4 or BHO mug. And then also, we kind of just did our pitch to join the Patreon, but I put it in the show notes. I wanted to make an extra special pitch because costs are increasing. Do you have to pay for Megaphone? We had to switch the providers for our RSS feed.
Because we're on the We Are Libertarians network, the network absorbs the cost of the Megaphone for the podcast thing.
The network didn't absorb the cost for the website. So we have that cost as well. It's not that much, but like things are just starting to like.
There are expenses.
Yeah, we have. We operate on an extremely tight margin. We actually pay for a few things out of our pocket each month. Now the website is also coming out of our pocket, my pocket each month, which is fine. We still don't have a lot of cost to keep this hobby going, but it would be awesome if we could. I know that people
pay for our own beer
things out of this, and it would be great.
If we do things the right way, we encourage guests to bring a 12-pack or a 6-pack, and then they drink like 2 or 3.
That typically happens,
and then
like that,
and then we get to drink off of them.
There's an eclectic mix.
And when we start to run out of beer, whatever guest brought that, we invite them back on.
Sean
Rao, yes, exactly. And I tried to get Sean tonight, but because the beer fridge is looking at less than 50% capacity, we're about ready to start drinking the Miller High Life, which nobody wants.
I like Miller High Life. I like all the Miller beers.
There's some non-alcoholic Heineken in there too.
Yeah, we bought that. Jeremiah bought that from Mason Rottinghouse, young Mason.
Would you like one of those, Zach?
No.
Okay.
Have you ever had one?
No.
You ever had any kind of a beer?
I've had like sips of beer twice.
I tried. I spent all of last weekend with Zach, bothering him. He couldn't go anywhere. I was literally, he opened his front door and there I was.
Is there a specific reason that you don't drink? Like
No.
Chris Spangle doesn't drink because alcoholism in his family, and he's petrified that if
Because
he
of
takes
fear.
one sip, then he'll be hooked.
There's a bit of that. And there's also just a bit of, I tried it like once. It tasted awful. I'm like, I guess it's an acquired taste. And I don't really feel like acquiring the taste. And also it's expensive and I can just get like a water or a pop at a restaurant and
the thing
free
is, for me,
refills.
is I never had to acquire the taste.
When I've had like champagne.
Born with the taste from mammal
I had
blood.
champagne at my wedding. Everybody just stood there and looked at me because they knew it was going to be something. And I felt like, and all I can taste is the alcohol. It just tastes like alcohol. I don't taste anything else with it. So.
I've always enjoyed the taste of beer, whiskey. Like the first time I really drank whiskey was I'd had my dad likes to drink Seagrams and 7-Up. I'd had that before. That's fine. I'd rather have a beer though. Whatever. But the first like real bourbon that I had was actually here, and it was Cade Coger had brought Buffalo Trace with him.
So this is why you need to join our Patreon.
Yeah. And so Cade brought the Buffalo Trace, and I was like, I'll give it a try. And we don't have ice here. We just have a mini fridge, and I drank it neat, warm temperature. So, and I was like, this is freaking really good. This is really delicious. And it had a little bit of a burn, but I kind of like that. Like one of the appeals for bourbon to me is like you drink it.
Dakota likes it really rough,
and you're
is
like,
what he's saying.
You're like, you know what this is doing. Like this.
If the first time I got blitzed on alcohol wasn't on bourbon, I would be in there with you.
You'd probably
but because the first time I made a terrible decision with alcohol, it was Canadian Club, Dario Franchitti. It ruined me.
First time I made a terrible decision with alcohol was with you. The Irish car bombs.
I mean, another thing is,
I still don't drink those.
I don't have any, like, people can drink. I don't care. I'm around people that drink all the time. Drinking is actually a pretty spectacular spectator sport at times. Mm-hmm. And people are having a real good time. Then the next day, you just kind of look at them and chuckle, and they're not quite sure what happened, if they remember everything that happened. Because, I would sit up at Ball State and just watch the drunks come stumbling in on Thirsty Thursdays. And there was some funny stuff that happened. And none of those people knew what happened the next day.
And I don't get drunk like that. I'm 25 years old. I don't get drunk like that. I never really have. The only time was with the Irish car bombs at Jeremiah's house.
We had a guy get so drunk one time that he picked up a bottle of drinking glasses on his way back from a house party, and he dropped them off in his room, went back to the bathroom, and then we took him. Somebody else on the floor. And then he was so drunk that we just told him he didn't bring them back, and he couldn't for sure tell himself that he had brought them back. He conceivably thought, I just imagined it. That was hilarious.
I know some people, like we camp with some people that they enjoy getting to that state. Like they're not alcoholics, but on a Saturday night,
I've always said that
they're just going to
be a box.
Totally cut loose.
When somebody is like, "Hey, do you drink never? Do you drink occasionally? Do you drink every day? Do you drink drink a handle every day?" And there's some people that I think just need a box that says, "Yeah, binge." I tie one on from time to time.
When I had a seasonal spot, we had a guy who he would go through a case of beer a day, camping on the weekend, and he would just try. He even kept him strapped to the back of his golf cart, just kept him cooler with his beer.
People like that. Yeah.
And he was always. I never saw him like slurred speech or anything. You'd see him having a good time, but you never saw him just like he was.
My friend's grandpa used to golf with him, and while we were golfing, he would drink Seagrams. And he would finish an entire fifth of Seagrams in an 18-hole round of golf. And it was like...
That's a lot.
And his behavior did not shift. His words never slurred. But then again, he's a 70-year-old man that's been doing this for the past 50 years.
I jokingly say that those are the people who have their pro card.
Yeah,
if they can
that's a pro card.
It's like when somebody could just knock it back and you're like sitting there and they're not reacting. There's no reaction at all. Their tolerance.
And it's gin. Like that is all of the choices.
No, Seagram's whiskey.
Oh, whiskey. Yeah, okay.
There was a kid at Ball State that passed out on the
Slightly
steps.
Better.
And his blood alcohol was deep into fatal. I think it was like 0.5 or 0.6 or something insane. And somebody's like, well, how much is this kid drinking? And he's like, he was drinking a half gallon of gin a day.
Oh my gosh.
And so, his tolerance was insane.
Gosh.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I bought a
great spectator sport, but never partaken.
A half gallon of Buffalo Trace on a whim. It's my favorite bourbon. Still. It's my favorite bourbon because of what it is. We'll leave it there. I bought a half gallon of it on a whim because I saw it and I was like, wow, look how huge this bottle is. And
could you imagine the barrel it came in?
Yeah. And it took me a while to get through that. I bought a half gallon of Heaven Hill with Jeremiah. Remember that in the wintertime? Do you remember?
I was probably blackout
at the raffle.
Drunk.
No.
Yes.
It was when the right to buy
I do
raffle
remember.
here
I do
in
remember.
Newcastle.
Yes. It's when Dickon got his Blantons.
Yeah. And I just
right to
finished
buy,
that bottle.
Right to die. Totally different event.
Yeah. I've just finished that half gallon last week. There's snow on the ground whenever I bought
Like
it. Well,
five-
and this year that doesn't say much.
I bought
Knocked on
the
6
Jeremiah
months.
weed, and
Yeah, you did.
it's not been touched since the day we did
that
it in
was
here.
horrific. I will never ever touch that stuff again. That was
I have a bottle of vodka at my house.
I will
but it's-
probably take the Jeremiah weed to the Indy 500 and try to get people to take shots of it. I think that's the plan.
Whew.
And then follow
God,
it with
I can
follow-
still feel that hitting my
follow it
stomach.
up with some Vegemite.
I have a 5-year-old bottle of vodka because it's a Fuzzy's vodka from 2016. I'm like, this is the safest bottle of booze on planet Earth, just sitting in the back of my kitchen counter. So
All right, so join the Patreon
until
extra,
Owen turns 16.
extra awesome.
then one day I'll be looking, I'm like, that looks so weird, and it'll be completely full of water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be able to freeze.
That's what I need to do is annually do like a freeze test. Does it freeze? No.
All right, let's get into the show here. Local governments and financial aid is what we're going to be starting with. And
This is your idea. I voted
Yeah.
against this. I had like 500 other things I wanted to talk about. And you said, no,
I thought
let's
this
talk
was-
about something that we barely understand.
this was
This'll be
whenever
good.
I thought, so I sent the invitation out. First of all, this was supposed to be a show with Aaron Dickin here.
You dreamt that up.
Okay. And then at the very last minute.
When did you? Okay, let's
I asked
get
him
into the
literally
character
last
attacks.
Tuesday.
But did he tell you?
Last
When did he tell
Tuesday.
you no? By the way, Aaron Dickin is classified as a co-host on our website.
I think it was last weekend.
Okay.
It was over
So he told you no 4 days ago.
ahead of time. Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't the last
He's
minute.
on like a tour of Newcastle.
But he's like,
I think he's running for re-election.
he was like, sorry, Thursday is tennis night because he's rich. I
Very.
guess.
That's what wealthy people do. They play tennis and drive their Rolls Royce.
Yeah. So he's out there
they
somewhere
enjoy
right
their
now
sidewalks
with his
and-
sweater tied around his neck and he's
Yeah.
hitting a tennis ball back and forth. But anyway, this was supposed to be an Aaron Dickin episode. Aaron said no. So I sent an open invitation.
This is what we do: is we bash our friends that are in government.
Yeah.
Don't be our enemy; it'd be even worse.
I sent an open invitation to everybody that we are in a group chat with that's involved in local government at any capacity. There's only one other member of that chat besides you and I that is not a member of local government, and that just happened like 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And that is Darren Jacobs. So I sent the invitation out. I'm like, somebody, Corey Murphy, Darren Jacobs,
They all have
No.
stuff going on, man.
all these, some of these people, I'm like, this was yesterday. Open invitation for any of you guys to come on the show. Because it was pretty obvious that it was going to be the three of us. We were going to have a couple extra open chairs. So it was whatever. And literally all of them were like, no. Clay Morgan had the lamest excuse. Clay Morgan says, I'm not that caught up on COVID money yet. I don't really know what's happening with it.
He doesn't
all.
have to decide
And
yet.
It was like, Clay, none of us know what's going on with the COVID money either. Like there was one article in the Courier Times about the COVID money.
Yeah.
So we're trying
Hey.
to, I'm like searching the state website. The only thing I can find on the state website is what they were supposed to spend in 2020 to deal with PPE.
So let's get some of the facts out and lay them out here on the front end, and then we'll discuss. As this is all based upon Dakota's research. Once again, if you're a patron, you get a copy of the show notes with the links and et cetera, et cetera. This is the very beginning, tip of the spear of the conversation. So the numbers, they're going to be what they're going to be. Ultimately, decisions are going to be made. The money we're going to be talking about doesn't have to be spent until the end of 2024. It's a windfall for every county and every local community in the state, or I guess in the country.
Yeah. To say that this is,
So-
we are spending this money because we lost tax revenue due to the pandemic.
The same time that we got, this is the three-legged stool of the Biden bucks that came about. When Trump was running for office, it was $1,200, and they said, well, you should have, I'm sorry, it was $600, and they said, well, it should be $2,000. So then people later on got the true up earlier this year from the Biden administration. They used reconciliation, and a household got the $1,200 or whatever the hell the number is. A house got $2,000, or a person got $2,000. A household got $4,000. If you got kids, you just got money on top of money. That was the first thing that folks noticed. But the back end of it was that they had this money that was coming into all of these local communities. Henry County, Indiana, is expecting to receive $9.3 million in a windfall. And the city of Newcastle, Indiana, is going to receive $3.3 million, best we can tell. So that's the money that's got to be spent. Could be spent next week. Could be spent in 2024. And now what you've got is like this extra windfall cash that all of these states and communities have to decide what they're going to do with. It's a one-time shot. federal government borrowed it, and now you get to decide what you're going to do with it. You could say, hey, we're going to use it to pay for raises for everybody. You could say we're going to hire 25 new police officers. You could say we're going to just put it in the bank to pay for or deal with property tax revenue that we lost, or sales tax revenue we lost, or income tax revenue we lost because 2020 sucked. That's a legitimate, acceptable thing to do. Lots of ways that people can spend this money and use it. So now what we have is all of these legislative bodies are going to get to fight over deciding what they're going to do with it.
Yep. On an unrelated note, the city of Newcastle, Indiana, has an armored vehicle now for the police.
So
it's a $110,000 purchase, right?
Brand new.
Yeah.
For the military.
They had it at the city council meeting on Monday.
I do wonder, does that make... Do you think that if there wasn't COVID money, because there was money that came in last year as well, Henry County got $500,000 or $1.5 million. I think the city got $500,000 that got spent last year on PPE and other COVID related expenses, grants that went out at just whatever, across the board. Do you feel like that kind of expense would have happened normally, or is that just hey, you know what, we got the money, let's spend it?
It's hard to say.
I heard Pendleton has one as well. Pendleton's had one for a while, and they had to build a barn for it. Because you can't store it outside.
The town of Hagerstown also has a first-generation military Hummer.
Sure.
That was purchased.
Everybody has to have one.
Years and years ago.
Keep up with the Joneses, man.
Hagerstown has had that for a really long time. It's not an armored vehicle. If you look at it, it looks like it would be like, wow, is this from Jay Leno's garage? He bought a military surplus Hummer? Yeah. But no, they have one as well. So it's kind of hard to be like, the city of Newcastle only bought this because they have COVID funds. I think that they probably were going to be getting an armored vehicle at some point, because literally every city across America or small town feels like the police need this for some reason, because they're waging war against the drugs and they're losing horribly. So they've got to beef up a little bit. So it's like they probably were going to get it regardless. But at the same time, well, we got $560,000 in 2020. And it looks like we have a $3.3 million check also coming our way. So this is a good time to make this purchase.
The conversation and the way, if you have to spend this money, the conversation that people are going to have is, do you pay for lost revenue from last time? Do you find a special project that you're going to put it in, that you're going to justify to pay for it? I think some of the money that was attempted to be used, I think Rushville used some of their money last time on a drone. They paid for some drones that they said they were going to use for a number of purposes, but to human social distancing. There was a big thing that came out in the I think Channel 8 News kind of sensationalized the story a couple months ago on it. I think there was some discussion about trying to use some COVID funds for a generator for Newcastle. Does that sound correct? Accurate?
I can't recall off the top of my head, but
it's been a very loose definition of how some of these funds have been able to be spent. So the real conversation to me is what makes sense. If you have to spend $9 million on a community, Chris Bilbrey, a patron member, is saying that Muncie received $31 million and Delaware County's got $22 million. So you've got this huge cash infusion, and it's kind of a blank check of what do you want to do with it, what makes sense. To me, it's got to be an infrastructure project, a lasting item that's not going to leave you with a cost on the back end. If you add jobs, if you add headcount, this might pay for you for 2 or 3 years, but on the back end, you've got to fund it somehow. So you can't have something that has back end cost. It needs to be a capital project or something that builds you for the future.
Yes, absolutely. I think the infrastructure would be the most wise path forward.
Could be, there's been a lot of discussion about broadband. You could spend it broadband. You could spend it on sewers, water. Any number of things that you could use. I mean,
just kind of take a look at the comprehensive plan that we have for Henry County. There's a lot of infrastructure projects that have been outlined in the comprehensive plan that aren't huge infrastructure projects that we could go ahead and tackle with this money. Like there's a couple roundabouts that we want to add in the county.
Paving's not cheap.
Yeah, but it's this is a good chunk to put towards those things that we already have set as a goal. We already have these things set. We have this goal that we want to accomplish. But this is
city money or county money. Where are you going to put a roundabout that's not a state roundabout?
Versus a state highway.
Right.
Right. Well,
Right. Because if you're say you wanted to put one in at County Road 300 South and State Road 103, a place that has a number of significant accidents.
Well, that's where
that's
the
a state
one
road.
is wanted to be
So
put.
that would be, you need your state DOT to pay for that, or
Right.
be involved or sign off on it. That's not necessarily a local. I suppose the locals could say, "Hey guys, here's $2 million. Can you do it? Could you put it in a letting and could you build it for me?" Maybe they'd do it. But is that, potentially you could get that paid for by the state anyway. If you
We're just going
asked
through
enough.
it and making some of these horrible county roads that we have and just taking it back down to gravel. I mean, really, they're already doing that in so many locations where a county asphalt road gets past the point of no return. So we go through, we make it a gravel road again. And it's actually way better than what it was when it was asphalt anyway. Also, arguably safer for motorists. I'm sure that there are those things. There are already those roads that are slated to be done to. We can, try to throw some of these funds towards expanding those projects.
My concern, Zach, and my fear is that you can't just use it to plug a hole that exists in a budget. If it's insurance money, if it's trying to make up for old tax revenue that didn't come in, that's Band-Aid type stuff. And it needs to be something that works going forward. That's my fear.
That's kind of something that I was wanting to bring up anyway, because I kind of thought this exact same thing. There was a recent article, which was just a couple of days ago in the Courier Times, and it was of some members of the county government, of the county council specifically. I think it was Susan Hoon and Ken and Gray that were talking in the article, and they were mentioning unemployment costs, unemployment insurance that the county was having to pay out. The county commissioners were having to pay to unemployed county government
like a huge
employees.
amount over what they normally have.
Yeah, they had budgeted. The county council budgeted for 2021 to pay out $2,500 of unemployment insurance, and the commissioners already, and we're only 5 months in the year, 5.5 months, they've already spent $14,000 on unemployment costs. And the issue was, if this continues, then is that my phone?
No, it's mine. I have 3 cell phones going, guys. It's a total nightmare.
Having a hard time.
It is a complete and total nightmare.
Well, I was getting notifications for the messages because you were dinging because it was the same group chat that we were in, which is why it was so confusing.
His phone
and
dings,
I'm like,
but you're getting messages.
My phone is on Do Not Disturb 24/7. Why is it doing this right now? Okay, but anyway, the numbers were crunched, and it was saying that if the trend continued for the county, then we would have $42,000 spent on unemployment.
I'm going to throw
costs.
a phone. I muted it. I did all I can. It's Spangle. I swear to God, we will leave this network if you don't leave us alone, Spangle.
I remember hearing that number too. Yeah, $42,000 is when you budgeted. I mean, you're only
you're $40,000 over budget.
Yeah, over a $2,000 budget.
Imagine if you were like, April next year, I've been doing the numbers. We've only got $2,500 to spend on, groceries or whatever. And she's like, well, it's May. I've spent $14,000, Zach. And that's
still not ending. Like they didn't, I think the people were still collecting. So
this kind of circles back to an issue, and it's in the show notes, to something that we've talked a lot about on the show before, specifically every time that we have a county council member or county commissioner candidate come on the show, we'll always bring up the topic of insurance, because we've been talking about the county insurance problems since this show's very inception.
Yes.
And this is another one of those problems. Because the county is a self-insured county, we have to eat the costs of unemployment insurance. So anytime someone every time someone files an unemployment claim through the unemployment office, and then the state approves it, yes, you deserve unemployment, then the county government has to eat all of that cost.
The governor finally, in the last 2 weeks, since we've last convened, has changed the unemployment rules so that you actually have to start showing up at places and applying for work. You don't get your extra bonuses. You don't get any of the extra incentive. I believe unemployment has gone from 17% down to in the threes, between 3 and 4%. So now people have to go and apply for work. And I've noticed it in my workplace. All of a sudden, we've got the pop-ins again. People that are wanting to put their application in. They don't know where they're at or what they're doing, but they're putting their application in because they have to prove that they've tried.
I've been at
And
Grady
I've seen that change.
Foundry like 2 times in the past week, and I have to go into the building in order to get buzzed into the gate. And they are now offering a $1,500 sign-on bonus to be to accept a job at a foundry. And when the 2 times I've been there this week, there's been like 6 guys in the waiting room waiting for their open interview, because they have open interview times if anyone's interested on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
It's finally happening. I think you can see this change, and that was it shows the direct correlation between government policy and people getting out and doing something.
And there was a really interesting, I think it was the Washington Post that put out an article, and it was like a huge portion of the people who were unemployed right now were mothers.
Yeah, I can
Moms
see that.
had to, they had to quit their job so that they could take care of their kids because schools were shut down.
Yeah.
But then they were interviewing a few moms, and they're like, yeah, I was staying home with my kids. And I'm like, why the hell was I ever working to begin with? This is so much better. I feel so much more fulfilled in my life by being able to spend time with my children than having 3/4 of my paycheck go into their childcare anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky, but I've seen some people post online like what they pay for childcare, and it is insane in some markets
crazy.
how much it is.
Even around here.
All of these states and communities are trying to decide what they're going to do with all of this extra money. The state of North Carolina, Governor Roy Cooper in North Kakalaki, announced a $30 million plan to spend some of their ARP, their American Rescue Plan funds, which is exactly what this bucket is that we're talking about for the locals in Indiana. $30 million they want to send to North Carolina stock car tracks, $10 million to Charlotte Motor Speedway, $10 million to Rockingham, and $10 million to North Wilkesboro. Keep in mind that only one of those is an active NASCAR track now. North Wilkesboro has been mothballed since 1996.
Yeah, I've driven by it once. And it's weeds.
Unbelievable.
Sounds about
Rockingham
right.
hasn't been in service for the Cup Series since 2004.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
And I can't imagine like Charlotte.
Charlotte's state of the art.
State of the art. Moneymaker. I think they just host a 4-wide. They have a 4-wide drag strip there. And I don't honestly think $10 million is going to really do anything.
I think
for
they put
them.
$200 million in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway a couple of years ago, and you could barely see it.
You could barely see it. And compared to, I go visit North Carolina annually.
But these are COVID funds.
I know but like there's so many small towns and small areas, little areas in there that could like really make use of $10 million as opposed to it disappearing into like a new like hot dog cooker for Charlotte. I just don't. Yeah, I don't understand the 2 tracks, except I could see those being an economic bump for those areas,
for the community potentially.
But Charlotte Motor Speedway, that is lost on Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Auto Week says the state will receive $575 million, and each of these tracks would receive.
But you don't know.
3.
Just wait until you see.
If these 3 tracks would receive $10 million apiece. Governor Cooper said this pandemic brought us a once-in-a-generation challenge, and these funds have brought us a once-in-a-generation opportunity. North Carolina's funding from the American Rescue Plan positions our state for a shared recovery that allows North Carolina to work for all. The state legislature still has to approve it. But, this is a part of the $3.6 billion that the feds gave out.
Generally don't mothball profitable tracks.
Well, there've been changes. The dynamics, the dynamics of NASCAR and their decision making. These 2 tracks that have been mothballed are tracks that they should have never done that to. They made a switch to the Fontanas and Chicago's, the Los Angeles, Chicago, other places, and now they figured out that didn't work out as well either. So it long convoluted side, but thank God there's extra money because North Carolina is going to spend it on the racetracks. I'm a racetrack guy. Like I'm wearing a Connor Daly shirt, and I think it's obscene.
But if you ever go to like North and South Carolina, and you get there's like Raleigh and Charlotte, which are these super like metropolitan cities, and then you get there's like within about 2 hours out from the ocean. From there directly to right before you get to the ocean is some of the most depressing like poverty you've ever seen in your entire life, because it's an area where it's super hot. They get all the heat and everything, but they don't get any of the tourism or anything. And you're like, those areas are probably suffering real bad right now. And it's just, it's insane. And like I said, and the 2 small tracks, that's one thing. Charlotte is just
well, the reason is
whatever.
because it'll keep the people. Well, first of all, the same people that own Charlotte own at least one of the others, if not both of the others.
Yeah.
But they got to grease the wheels, man. If you want to give it to one, you got to keep the other guy from complaining.
I'd like to know what percentage.
That's politics.
What percentage of that goes right back into his campaign fund through a contribution? I bet that's
unbelievable. It's just
Are you?
It's blatant. You are going to truly see, and I'd love to hear it. If you guys see it in your communities, email us. Jeremiah at ballshockofliberty.com, Dakota at ballshockofliberty.com.
With the new website.
Yes.
Will you pull up the website on your computer?
Oh, well, so that we can get the hamster rolling here, Dakota.
On the website.
Contact.
I think that your phone's covering it up. Or, yeah, you can click. See, if you go on your phone, you go on your desktop, then down in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little microphone.
Oh, there's a voicemail.
You have the ability now to leave us a voicemail.
Dear God.
On our website.
We are
never
playing this.
I'm thinking we should do.
Poor producer Zach is going to be in charge of work. I'm going to have to copy voicemails into the podcast Patreon.
I haven't been told how to play audio on the board yet.
Now he can literally just pull it up on his computer. He'll have if you go in as the admin of the website, then there's literally a thing that's like just play your voicemail. That's what this is for. This is a website that's literally built for podcasting. So if you have something to say or a correction or something funny, we can play it. We're going to check them ahead of time. We're not just going to play it blind. But if you have if there's something where you're like, you guys are idiots, this is the actual thing, and it's like, oh, okay, we need to correct that. That might be something that we would play on the show.
Yeah.
Or if you have something funny to say, then we'll put that behind the paywall.
Are we going to have a list of grievances?
I would love to have that.
Okay.
If we start getting grievances, then I think that it would be fantastic if we could do that, like on Festivus.
We're going to save them. We're going to let them fester.
Save them up.
They're going to get old and moldy, and we're not going to remember why Andrew Bowman was crabby May 14th.
Yeah. And we'll play them.
We'll play
crabby every day.
Just the annual Boss Hog of Liberty Festivus episode where everyone just bitches at us about everything that we got wrong throughout the year. I think that would be hilarious. So please utilize that. It's ballshockofliberty.com. Go there, check out the brand new website, read through everything. It's really cool. I've spent legitimately probably 10 hours building this website.
How did you do it on your phone or on a computer or what?
It was a mix of both. I didn't have my desktop at home, so I had to.
You borrow Audrey's?
Luckily, I bought my wife a brand new laptop 2 months ago, so we had a nice new laptop that I could use. It was Podpage's get your brand new website built within 5 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't believe that.
Yeah,
but Dakota jumped up immediately. I'll build the website. I'm like, thank God. Because I was already going to have to, somebody moved my cheese and I was going to have to figure out how to do the audio side again.
I've built probably half a dozen websites through I even took a class for it at Ivy Tech.
Through GoDaddy.net.
And I've built them with WordPress and Squarespace and done HTML coding. And Podpage, in their credit, was definitely the most user-friendly platform that I've ever used.
Funny story. I just checked my emails because I thought somebody had left us a voicemail already, and it was Twitter asking about my experience. Somebody called me and all of my friends fat on Twitter, so I reported it as bullying.
Are you serious?
Yes. They called us all fat. We were in a picture.
Fat shamed?
I got fat shamed, and I care.
Was it by a stranger?
Yes, by somebody I don't even know. So then I reported them because I'm like, screw you, douche. I'm going to come after you, guns blazing. I'm gonna play the I've been abused card. Twitter did nothing to help me. They said,
wow.
I have seen some very bizarre standards
Twitter doesn't care.
What Twitter will go after and what they will not go after.
If you say Bruce Jenner won the gold medal in the Olympics,
these guys will deplatform a president.
Deplatform you.
They will stand up for me and all of my friends. Nope. They even fat shamed Zach. Zach was in the picture.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't see this.
Yeah.
Thankfully. Yeah. Bob and Tom's Chick McGee calls Twitter the worst bar you've ever been to.
It's terrible. It's a terrible place.
I hate Twitter.
And we don't use the Twitter. This is another part of the Boss Hog conversation here. The website links to our Twitter feed that we have not used in over 100 episodes.
Before I changed it, and took a minute to figure out how to do, it automatically, if you scroll down on the homepage there, Jeremiah, then it will like show you the most recent activity. Yeah, right up there. Scroll up a little bit more. It will, nope. Maybe I missed it. Yeah, right there. It'll show you the most recent activity on our Facebook page.
Sure.
So like you're on there right now. It says that we're live on Facebook, which we are.
It's lovely.
Also, underneath that,
it had
it had our Twitter feed. So the very last tweet we had was, check our Facebook page to see who's the special guest on Boss Hog of Liberty episode 99.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, like 100 weeks ago, a minute.
A couple of years.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, that's that. So we got to figure out how they're going to spend this money. I think it's going to be wasted across the country. And more than anything else, our community, I know that our elected officials are going to try to deal with it.
But it's going
to be a massive burden and You're not mad.
No, I knew
fake libertarian
writing all these things that, okay, the localities they're going to probably squander this money. It's going to go through all kinds of different things. But here's the deal. I've been paying tax dollars for my entire adult life, and the vast majority of that is going to the federal government so they can go play war games in the Middle East. So they can
drop bombs on people you've never met.
And I don't care about any of that. What I do care about is my local roads. I do care about my local police department.
You're just going to be disappointed again. This is not going to work out well. I've seen this book before.
I would much rather, and I've said this for a really long time, I would love it if the roles were reversed and 30% of my tax of the money that I get in my paycheck went to my local government, and then the federal government got the 3% that the county government takes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is my most ideal tax setup. So I'm like, screw it. I would much rather see my tax dollars be given to Henry County, the city of Newcastle, the incorporated
so that
town
North
of Spicely.
Wilkesboro can get $10 million.
Yeah, whatever. I don't care. I would much rather
want
that
to
happen.
see how much money Mount
because
Long
here's
gets.
the alternative. They're going to pass this spending package no matter what, because they pass it because they can throw in all of this extra money. It's going to be going somewhere. They've already sent so much money to Saudi Arabia for buying weapons of war so that they can use it against the people in Yemen and commit war crimes that, there should obviously be a tribunal.
Well, we need an MRAP to defend ourselves against Yemen.
That's right. They're going to come for us one day.
All right. Election season.
Election season has officially started. Mr. Jason Williams from the Henry County Sheriff's Department. He is the current sheriff's deputy.
Yes.
That's very apparent. There's pictures of him in his deputy uniform. He has announced his candidacy to be the new Henry County Sheriff, which would be replacing Rick McCorkle, who's the current Henry County Sheriff. And
Rick is term limited.
That's correct. And one thing that I thought was interesting, I really don't know anything about Jason. I don't know him personally. I've never met the guy. I guess that is, if I don't know anything about him being connected in the media as we are, then that's probably a good thing because he's not raised a bunch of red flags.
Jason is a road deputy in Henry County and a canine officer. He's one of the canine officers for the sheriff's department.
There we go. But here is an important piece of information for all of the Boss Hog of Liberty OG listeners who've been listening since we've been doing this out of my house. He said that if he is elected, then Matt Pierce is going to become his chief deputy.
Matt was on one of the very early episodes back in the Dakota Davis studio.
That's right.
With Brandy Pierce.
He was. They were great. They were great guests. You should go listen to that episode. It was a good law enforcement themed episode that we had.
So we've had a run of sheriffs that have been the sheriff in waiting. And I would expect that this is going to be a very crowded field for sheriff in Henry County. But you saw Kim Cronk's deputy get elected as that was Butch Baker. Butch Baker's deputy got elected, Rick McCorkle. And the number one deputy right now is Jay Davis, who I would expect to be running as well. And there's been a number of other names that we've heard rumored. So I would expect this to be a very full. These are all Republicans, by the way, because that seems to be the way to get elected in Henry County government at this time, because you have to run at large. It's the entire county.
Right. You think
just like running for commissioner,
you need to be a Republican? Why would you think that? Would it be something like the fact that
straight ticket voting?
Yeah.
I was going to say, get that straight ticket vote.
I was going to say that your best clue would probably be that every single
Everybody
elected
has
Republican.
one.
Yeah.
So we'll see. The filing period is going to be January to, I think, early February. The primary election will be in May, as it traditionally is. Democrats will have an opportunity to add somebody there. Libertarians will have the opportunity to add somebody at the spring convention. And then you'll know for certain who the candidates are by July for each of the three parties or an independent if they came along. And then the actual election would be over a year from now in November. So you're 16 months out from the election.
Yep.
It starts early, though. These sheriff's races, they start very early.
In a crowded field like it's going to be, then
if you have 6, 7, 8 people, you could win this race with 400 votes.
It's pretty crucial to get started early if you're talking about a crowded field like that. You obviously want as much name recognition as possible. So
usually it's a pretty crowded race with name recognition. Like I've a couple times it's been like 5 or 6 guys, and like if you grew up in this town, you know everybody.
Yeah.
You know everyone. That's sometimes one of the tougher races to pick somebody for, because you're like, well, these are all like good guys. We have some ex-state policemen that are local that run. So yeah, it'll get crowded.
All right, is that it?
That's all I got, man.
That's our show.
I think so. Spent the weekend with Zach. Poor guy.
It wasn't too bad.
You got to play marbles with my family again.
Oh my gosh, that game is horrendous.
Zach, this is your final thoughts. So don't let Jeremiah bully you in your own special time.
Well, it's the month of May, so I'm enjoying that. And hopefully it's supposed to get hot this weekend. Let's hope that doesn't stick around. But otherwise, normal. Go out to L&K. I'm not sure what they're still doing. Check their page because they're doing like some fun stuff on Saturdays where they're bringing people in.
Yeah, Audrey and I went up there a couple weeks ago, and they had a bunch of vendors out. They had a pork barbecue food truck.
My cousin normally takes Beehive Body Company. She sets up a tent out there.
L&K has the special tomorrow night at the Elks Club.
At the Elks,
steak night.
They're serving at the Elks.
L&K steak night Friday night.
Nice.
Going to be very nice.
Other than that, enjoy the weather. Avoid the construction. Half of Newcastle's getting torn up, but they're fixing things.
Everywhere I drive a lot for work from Greenfield to Richmond.
How many times do you get detoured into a detour?
It's so crazy. It's like everything takes at least 30 minutes, like to just figure out where I'm going. And it's not so easy. I have to try to find the truck detours because I've made the mistake before of just like, I'm just going to go up to where the next turn road is before it's shut down or closed or something. And then I get stuck in like a really skinny side street somewhere. And it's like,
I'm waiting for one of your coworkers to come. Somebody in a semi almost took out a telephone pole in my neighborhood right across the street from your old house. They nudged it. So it's got a little pitch on it. And they're supposed to come fix it, but they haven't done it yet. I'm like, well, it's not leaning towards my house. It'll be okay. But yeah.
You just need to call repeatedly.
Support local. Just check out Facebook. There's all kinds of good stuff. I know Fourth Fridays are coming back. Broad Street Cruises have started back. And there's something else that was getting fired up too. So there's all kinds of stuff going on. Get outside.
I got my tan already. I'm feeling good. I'm more tan than Dakota, and Dakota's outside every day.
I have to wear long sleeves.
It's your face.
Doesn't really
The face is the key, what I'm looking at.
I also wear a wide-brimmed hard hat to keep the sun off of me.
Well, that's a failure on your part.
Just part of life.
What do you got, D squared?
Let's see. I actually had a couple of things that I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about Andrew Bowman. This is a hashtag Never Bowman podcast,
Ooh.
as we've established previously.
Really?
Yeah.
Donor.
A donor.
Mm-hmm. And you're attacking him.
We're attacking him because of some of the things that he's posted and done as an admin on the new We Are Libertarians Facebook group.
There is a Not Walnuts group that was created because there was our syndicator, our home network, the big Facebook group got killed. So there is a Not Walnuts group that was created on the fake book that you could join, but we don't encourage it.
Andrew's, it's supposed to be a gardening Facebook group.
I planted a link to growing mint.
But Andrew has done a horrible job of keeping it to gardening related topics. And I think that it has something to do with his day job being all about, the grass and turf and things. So he probably just wants a little bit of break from that. But we're not going to give him an excuse. I deliberately yesterday posted a picture that had nothing to do with gardening. I posted a picture of pizza. Never got deleted. It's still in there. It's a gardening group. It's still in there.
I didn't know anything about the group, and then I was added to the group, and then I was made an admin, and I said, what the hell just happened here? And then Andrew was complaining that he wasn't an admin in the Facebook group. So I made him an admin, and I left the admin role because I feel like it's going to get destroyed. It's going to be crushed, and I don't want to be linked. I don't want to be tarred and feathered.
Yeah, we don't need to have we don't need our page being taken down because of it.
I don't need to be deplatformed.
Also, if you guys have noticed, in front of the First Baptist Church in Newcastle, there's construction going on.
There's going to be a pizza place.
The Domino's Pizza.
We don't need another pizza place in this damn town. We need
so happy.
We needed anything else. We're supposed to. Why didn't we get another church?
They're literally
because Domino's is great.
That we are going to have in that stretch 3 pizza restaurants in like a quarter of a mile.
Sure.
Options. You can eat.
They
pizza.
had their option. And
you can eat pizza in Henry County every night of the week. And never eat the same place.
Yeah. Pizza King, Mencino's, Papa John's, Little Caesars.
Except by the third Pizza King, you're bankrupt because you just spent $600.
One of my favorite places is
Casey's.
Jeff's Pizza.
Jeff's in Knightstown.
In Knightstown. You also have 1000 Degree in Mount Summit. Now we're going to have Domino's.
I'll tell you what 1000 Degree is. 1000 Degree is the most popular Henry County pizza restaurant in the Indiana camping forums. Because if somebody asks about Summit Lake, there will be at least 3 comments about 1000 Degree Pizza every time.
They put a lot of butter on their pizza.
They crank out some good.
They make
pizzas.
good pizzas, but I'm telling you, don't go to 1000 Degree for the pizza. Get the breadsticks. Get the barbecue.
Go for the L&K.
They've got fantastic barbecue.
They've got
fantastic
on the pizza.
sandwiches.
They've got the cattleman sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just say, if you want to go for anything with meat, and maybe something with a pizza, even if you get on the pizza, their like meat lovers pizza is legit because they do not mess around with the meat. The meat stands on its own, and then they make a delicious pizza out of it.
There's also a rumor that there's a Culvers coming to town at some point.
Is it going to be right next to the Frisch's Big Boy?
That rumor got started because there's a big time Culvers franchise owner who owns just an absolute ton in the Midwest. And the
Courier Times is reporting as of this evening that the Richmond Culvers announces a Newcastle location.
Okay, so
breaking news.
Yeah, the guy who opened it, what's his name?
That could be by the interstate.
Yeah, Myers Food Management Company. They own a bunch of Culvers throughout the Midwest. Last year, Myers Food Company or Management Company said that they were going to want to add a Culvers in a lot of different locations, and they were like, "We're going to be adding one in like Avon." They said Newcastle is on our list of potential locations, but according as of tonight, breaking news, they're saying we're not just a potential location; it's going to happen now. Do we know? Because the way that the Domino's is being built, there's going to be a side-by-side location. So there's going to be a Domino's on one side of the building.
It's in one of the outlets of the old Walmart, which is now the First Baptist Church.
See, that's where it is.
No, we don't know where it's going to be. I'm saying that's where the Domino's is going.
Yeah,
I'd be curious if the Culvers didn't end up by the interstate.
That would be nice. There's like right by my house.
There's like no because there's there's no restaurant options by the interstate.
I love
like for fast
Culver's
food
so much.
It's
one
delicious.
of my favorite places. You got to go there. When you go there, get the kids meal. Get the kids butter burger with fries. You get a freaking nice burger, a really good burger. You get a small side of fries. You get a Diet Coke, a soda, and then you also get a cup of custard, frozen custard.
Very like, passionate about.
It's like $5.
His butter burger.
It's so cheap.
It is good food,
but it's also like 1,600 calories. If you're feeding that to your kids, like that's a little bit of an issue. Like that, your kids don't need to be eating 1,600 calorie meals.
Are you done? Insane. Are you done with your food episode?
Yeah, I'm done with that.
I need a ruling. I think I saved a life, but maybe I didn't. Picture this: I'm in my backyard looking at my swimming pool that's now open because it's an 85-degree day in May, and there's a baby bunny swimming in my pool. The bunny's going to die.
I didn't know bunnies could swim.
I didn't either, but this thing was swimming in my pool. perilously close to the skimmer.
Drop anything in the water, it'll attempt to swim for a few minutes.
So it's swimming. I have an Australian Shepherd who loves bunnies and loves pools. So I rescue the bunny. I get it. I don't go in by hand. I get my skimmer.
You got your net.
And I got my net, and I rescued the bunny. And I made a snap decision that the bunny should not be
bang the net against the fence.
The bunny should not be released in my yard with my dog.
With Garth, yeah.
Because he's kind of had a moment. He's a little wet. So I don't open the gate and go outside and around. I just simply lean the net over the fence, and I rotate it. So the bunny does have a bit of a hop. We'll call it a bunny hop.
How small they are. That's fine. Did you see that video?
So that was my thought. And then when my wife
belly?
came outside and checked on the bunny, she said, I think you broke its neck. Because it kind of laid there for a while. And I said, I think it's just really tired. And then we went about our business.
I mean, it had
inside,
a really eventful few minutes right there.
And I think he was just chilling. And then
he was in shock,
Sarah went outside to check on him the next day, and he was gone. So I need a ruling. Did I save the bunny's life, or did I kill it and then it was rescued by a neighbor dog or an eagle?
I don't think you killed it. You may have just maimed it so that something else came along.
I don't think that anything.
I think he dried off and he went home.
Yeah,
and he's fine.
I think it's fine.
Hopefully his mom came and found it.
I might have thought differently, but I just saw a video of a cat that jumped out of a burning building from the 5th story.
Cats land on their feet, though.
Landed on its freaking feet and just walked away. But it doesn't matter. What if you jumped out of a 5-story building now?
I'm breaking both my legs.
Even if you landed on your legs, your spine would shoot up through the top of your head.
What is it? They say it's like about much higher than as a 1 or 1.5 times your height. You're going to start breaking stuff unless you're really good at landing.
I broke a tibia at a 16-foot free fall.
Yeah. So
couldn't walk it off.
OSHA says that you have to be tied off above a standing height of 10 feet. Because there have been people who have fallen very unfortunate manners and died from falling above 10 feet.
I mean, you saved the bunny from Garth.
Yeah, I feel like I saved it from drowning.
I feel like Garth would have just ragdolled it to death.
My old dog Dodger at my old house in Newcastle,
somewhere north of Q,
Q Avenue. He one day found a bunny nest in the backyard. And
it was not a smart mom, but
I didn't know. But I'm standing in the kitchen, which is right by the back door where I let him out. And I start hearing these blood-curdling screams. It sounds like a child shrieking out of terror. And I look out the back window.
Was it young Owen Burcham looking at a family of bunnies getting murdered?
I was like, oh my God.
It was Easter getting canceled.
I was like, what is going on out there? So I open up the door. And I see Dodger, who's my German Shepherd mix, and he's got a bunny. He picks a bunny up out of the nest, and then he literally flings it. He snaps it up in the air and lets go with his mouth. He's literally throwing the bunnies in the air, and whenever they fling up in the air, they scream. They're this horrible. It sounds just like a kid's scream.
Your dog's committing psychological torture with baby bunnies.
And he just keeps his tail is just wagging,
having the greatest time ever.
And he's just picking them up one by one. And I was like, oh my God.
Were they running back to the nest for more?
Yeah, how were
they were just literally just laying in the ground. And they're
just a bunny massacre.
But they're trying to crawl. They're crawling back to the nest, but Dodger's just grabbing. He's just flinging them up in the air as fast as he can. So I was like, Dodger, get in here. And I put on a pair of gloves, and I just went on the other side of the fence, and I separated the grass a little bit, and I set the bunnies in the grass. I don't know if the mom ever came back. They weren't there whenever I went to mow the next week. But yeah, it was crazy. They scream. Their scream sounds.
I didn't even know that bunnies made a noise. I've never heard a bunny make a noise.
It's horrible.
In this story, they do. All right, one more promo.
Unless it literally was one of your kids seeing the bunnies over the top of the fence and screaming at the same time, but they would have had to match up right as soon as he flung the bunnies.
Yeah. One more promo. Our boy Kyle Robbins, Newcastle, Indiana's own, Boss Hog alum. He's done 2 shows. He's almost ready to go on the website as a co-host. He's going to do a lot of racing next week. Wednesday night, he's at the Action Track in Terre Haute. Thursday night, I'm going to go to IRP and go watch him Thursday in person out at what should be Carb Day, but they're shutting the Indianapolis Motor Speedway down, so he's going to be over there. And then I heard rumor that he might be up in Anderson for the Little 500. I know at least the Armstrongs are racing up there, Henry County's own, and Kenny Schrader's in the Little 500 in Anderson as well, Saturday night. So check that out. Lots of racing to go watch locally. Indy 500 if you can still get tickets. We're going to be back next Tuesday night for race night. I'm motioning Zach over to go press the button so that we don't have an awkward pause here. But race night is Tuesday night this week. It's going to be Mike McCown, me, Dakota, Zach Burcham, and Forrest Plank. We'll see you all then.